you're hiding that you don't want to see about yourself and you don't want anyone else to see about you is when you do spiritual bypassing. It's when you become the manipulator. It's when you're using coping mechanisms that are hurtful and ultimately causing more pain in the world.
Welcome to our podcast today. I have Megan Michael with us. She helps women feel safe and empowered in the wild and their bodies. Which, when you told me that, I thought, well, aren't their bodies wild? So you just
One and
help
the
women
same.
feel
One and the same.
empowered in their bodies. We're having a conversation today about being human in an artificial world. And this is a conversation that I feel is timely because there's a lot of artificial intelligence, a lot of pressure to be something that we're not, to be super polished. We live in Utah, and I mean, this state has some of the highest plastic surgery in the world. And let's just be real. So we want to have a conversation about what it means to be human, have real emotions, not always walking the spiritual high road all the time, but honoring where we are and also honoring those around us and allowing them to be where they are too. So we're going to discuss the difference between being kind and nice and different spiritual manipulations. And basically, this is anything that when you're using a spiritual tool to control people's outcomes, actions, and really just not wanting to see yourself or do the work. So, welcome to our conversation today, Megan.
Yeah, thanks. This is a juicy one.
It is a juicy one.
We both were feeling it. It's pretty relatable.
It is, yeah. Let's start on the spiritual manipulation. What is your take on this? What is your experience with this?
Well, so I'm just forewarning everyone out there. I'm an astrologer, so I basically see the world through that lens. So I'm going to drop some of that along the way because I literally can't help it. Also, it's so helpful. So, as far as well, manipulation in general, I feel like I'm a master at manipulation. So, to be quite honest, I'm a Scorpio. I have lots of Scorpio placements, and that's like one of the most manipulative signs. And so that's been a part of my life from like very early on. I know what it looks like in others
Mm,
very clearly, and I see it in myself. And
mm,
so it's and like Scorpios also have a drive to live the most authentic life possible. So in a
mm.
Scorpio's highest um, form, they're looking at themselves and working through that. So I have seen through my life all kinds of situations where I was like, "Wow, girl, you know how to manipulate." And so now I'm like, no one can manipulate me, no one. And so
Yep.
it's really easy to spot, and it's super interesting to witness it in a spiritual community.
Yeah.
Especially if you're new coming into your own like individuation and like becoming a more spiritual version of yourself. It's like you don't expect it. So I've
Yeah.
seen the manipulation from a religious standpoint because at 17 I joined the Mormon church, and I got to see manipulation in an organized fashion. I worked for I won't say the name because I'll get sued, but like I worked for like one of the, Fortune 100 companies and saw manipulation in the corporate environment. And then
Mm-hmm.
in the spiritual community, being an energy worker, body worker for 20 years, witnessing it in people. And we're all just doing the best we can,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
why I feel okay about like outing myself about spirit being manipulative, because we're all learning.
Yeah.
But
And yeah.
go ahead.
Well, and that's the part where the being human comes in and about not rejecting that part of ourselves, but actually embracing it, seeing it, acknowledging it, accepting it, and then allowing it to dissolve through whatever means
Witnessing it.
possible.
Yeah.
Witnessing it.
Because I
Yeah.
think the witnessing it is what immediately will start breaking those unhealthy patterns down. So when you're
Yeah.
seeing it in like the spiritual, well, anywhere really, but if we focus it on like spirituality, when you are in a spiritual community and then someone comes at you with something that they have a smile on their face and it's all like blessings and love to you, but the vibration coming through them is not love and light, it's manipulation. It can be very confusing. You don't know how to
Yeah.
take it. And then it's how we're refining our energy boundaries by having these experiences. It's how we're like refining our perception on like the different ways manipulation
Yeah.
can look.
And I also want to bring in that you can have very good intentions and be manipulative because
Totally. Totally.
that's the way that I see it the most. You know, in the organized religions, they're playing a script. They're doing a
Hmm.
thing. They're trying to get you to comply. And for me, generally, when I know I'm being manipulated, it's in my body. It doesn't feel good. It feels like shame. It feels like judgment. It doesn't feel like love. It
Hmm.
doesn't feel like free will. It doesn't
Hmm.
feel like expansion. It's more you're not as good as or
Or you're feeling compelled to be a certain way or to do a certain thing or coerced,
coerced. Yeah.
which your spirit will always reject. Your spirit will
Yeah.
always be like, brakes on, hold on. What they're saying looks and sounds pretty, but it doesn't feel right or good.
Right. And then the next level of that is when then you're accused of being, when you're honoring that no, because something doesn't feel good. So I want to even back up further because, sometimes we are not seeing ourselves very clearly. And when someone else is giving us feedback of like, wow, maybe this is something real. For me, when I don't want to do something and I'm feeling it and someone says, hey, and they're running their little script or saying their thing, I do actually say, okay, well, is this true? Is this right for me now? And
Yeah.
sometimes it is, and sometimes it is a blind spot. And sometimes I actually do want to work through this thing.
Hmm.
And other times when it's just like, no, because it could actually be good advice, but if I'm not actually ready for that advice and I force myself into it, it's not authentic. I have to
Right.
be ready for it to actually feel good. But then the next layer that I found is then when you do have that boundary, then the shame gets laid on and you're like, oh, but if you're not ready for it, that means that, yeah, you're just not as evolved as everyone else. This is your ego speaking. This is, you know, all the speak then comes out of, well, no, actually, I just didn't want to. That can be enough.
Yeah.
That can
Totally.
be enough.
Totally. And I mean, there's a term that has been thrown around in recent years. I've really only ever heard it since 2020, and it
Mm.
was spiritual bypassing. That term did not exist that I was aware of before then. And I am like, oh, we are evolving as humans. We're evolving because we can see through some of this and actually name it. And
Mm-hmm.
ego is so interesting when it's cloaked in religion or spirituality, or even just positivity,
Yeah.
where you're not allowing what's real and someone's real experience and their real emotions to exist because you're spiritualizing it away. You're
Yeah.
wanting to like make it not that way because you're uncomfortable with that emotion, or so it's a really fine line that everybody needs to work out for themselves on like
Mm-hmm.
what that means to be in integrity and living authentically and listening to those subtle but powerful inner cues.
Yeah, I think that is the strongest is about honoring ourselves and listening because a lot of these voices are trying to tell you that they know better than you, that
Hmm.
that internal cue is not actually right, that that internal cue is your old pattern playing out. It's
Hmm.
your limitation playing out. It's your unevolved self playing out.
Hmm.
Where, if that's your truth in the moment, then what is wrong with being where you are? Like
Including
that,
being angry or
yeah.
depressed or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, or even unevolved. Like, what does that even mean? What does evolved mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's more about awareness. Am I aware of where I am? Because if I'm aware that I'm being angry and a bitch and destructive, but it is my truth in the moment, and I also take accountability for it afterwards, like, that is spiritual, isn't it? Like,
Right. Like me opening this conversation with owning my weakness, like, is me conquering it.
exactly. And no, we don't have to hide it anymore.
Yeah.
We can
Right.
just say, yes, I am that.
Yeah.
And? Yes, I'm that too. And
Yeah.
yes, I'm that too.
Yeah, I'm everything. I'm all the things. That is, I think that's evolution, is when you are able to taste and experience all the things life brings you, even the uncomfortable ones,
Mhm.
experiences and feelings, the imperfections. Or like I joke about with my girlfriends is like, confess your cringe. Like the minute you can confess your cringe, you have evolved. It's like the immediate liberation, which is like the most empowered state.
What does confess your cringe mean? Give
It
us an example.
means well, I just did it. I opened the whole
Yeah.
thing as like, that's cringy to think of times that I was a certain way, where I
Yeah.
acted in a maybe unconscious at the time, manipulative way,
Mhm.
because that's where I was at then. I was still learning about myself and dealing with pain and suffering that I wasn't sure. Some of it I
Mm.
didn't even know was there. It was the actual manipulation and witnessing myself do that to realize, oh, I'm really hurt. I need to look at this. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's confess your cringe. And like when people are cringy, they do something to you and it's cringy, like spiritual bypassing and, they, victimize themselves and say, you're holier than thou, or you're this or that, where they're kind of projecting onto you.
Mm.
You can when you confess your cringe, you can see their cringe and not take it personally. It's like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
cringy, but I still love you."
Exactly. It doesn't define you. It's not who you are. It's just something you're doing right now.
Yeah, for whatever reason that hopefully, like, they're gonna learn from and you'll continue to learn, right? So,
Yeah.
this
Mm.
hiding that humanity's been doing of keeping things in the shadows,
Yeah.
that it's now's the time for disclosure of all things.
Seriously, I recently had an experience and the person was like, "How could you share something so intimate and sacred?" It wasn't intimate, no, like private. And I was like, "There's no private anymore. If you can't say something in a group, if what you say to me cannot be said with other people around or witnessed by other people, and like, why are you saying that? Unless you're, in this intimate moment of love and of compassion. I'm not saying,
Yeah, you're not gonna
go
like
broadcast that.
Yeah, you're not gonna, like, throw your pearls before swine and what's
No.
sacred, but yeah.
Yeah, but if you're just having a conversation about something, if you feel the need that you have to hide it or that other people couldn't witness it, and that something is now being exposed on
Mhm,
either side of it, like why? Can we live our life not in the shadows anymore? Can we be okay with being light and dark, like
mhm,
doing things the highway or the I'm just human today. This is how I
mhm,
feel. This is authentic to me. And this is how I choose to move
mhm,
forward.
mhm.
And maybe that's the difference is the choice of the unconsciousness. Maybe that's where the spirituality comes from or I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
But I do think that.
I think that it's the things in the shadows that create the false light. It's like the things
Mm,
you're hiding that you don't wanna see about yourself and you don't want anyone else to see about you is when you do spiritual bypassing. It's when you become the manipulator. It's when you're using coping mechanisms that are hurtful and ultimately causing more pain in the world. And
mm,
so I think that when you have darkness, but it's not in shadow, you have darkness, but you see it and you can use it. It's kind of like talking about like the dark feminine. We had a conversation the other day where
mhm,
when you're pushing that darkness down, it can come out sideways, and that's when people get hurt. But if you witness that darkness as sheer power coming through you, and yes, power is always scary, and yes, it might bring some things that are ugly, but when you work through the shadow portions, that is like pure power.
mhm.
And that sometimes means like owning some of that darkness and wielding it responsibly. So you
Yeah,
and I had a conversation about like being nice versus being
kind.
kind.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect example because like is so special. Everywhere has their flavors, right? But like Utah, everyone is very nice. It is the land of nice peoples. They do what they're supposed to do, and they're like very, and they're good people, but they're not kind
Mm,
necessarily just because they're nice. You can be both, but you can also just be nice and not kind. And to me, kindness is being honest
yeah.
despite it being uncomfortable. Nice is telling people what they want to hear and playing along.
Yes. And nice is more often than not authentic.
Right.
Because instead of holding a boundary and speaking your truth and saying, no, that is not okay with me, you say, okay, yeah. And then we just don't do what they want, or, and
Yeah.
that is a way to avert something. Like if someone has just so much power over you, or they're in a very high position of power or authority, maybe that is a good way to do it. I'm not saying it's a bad strategy, but it's not actually an effective way in your relationships. And if you're always doing it and you're scared to be the person who speaks the thing, says, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And
Mhm.
because that's actually the kindest thing in that moment, that's loving.
Mhm.
Firstly, to myself,
Mhm.
for me to say, no, this is my truth, not whatever you're saying. And it's also kind to the other person because then they get to either look at it, or maybe it even reveals that we're not in alignment anymore. And that frees up space, it frees up energy. Now I can put that time to other people and things and
Exactly.
projects.
Exactly. Because it's like living in reality or living in illusion. You can hold, if you don't want to let people go or lose people in your life, if you're more afraid of that than living authentically, then you're living in illusion. You're just like trying to please people. And so many women do this. It's
Men
we were
too.
it's the good girl program that we were installed with.
Excuse me.
It's
Yeah.
don't
Well,
ruffle feathers, don't offend, take care of
yeah.
everybody else, be nice.
Mhm.
Don't, as a little 2-year-old, somebody crosses your boundary and you hit them, and and we're like, no, no, that's not nice. That's not nice. And it's like, okay, it's not nice, but their boundary was crossed. And that's the only language they had. I'm not saying it's okay to hit, please, but it's just interesting, like, how it was bred out of us in so many ways, especially here where there was a heavy culture of religious.
Keep Sweet and Obey. That Netflix documentary, have you heard of it?
Uh-uh.
Oh, it's the polygamous. That's their little
Wow.
mantra. Keep sweet and obey. Now that's very extreme and that's in the polygamist, but Mormonism comes from that. That is the premise of it. Be
Mhm.
nice, have your smile, do what we say.
Obey, that word was used a lot. As a
A
convert joining
lot.
that church, I was like, wow. Yeah, very noticeable. Obey, obey, obey to the authority
Mhm.
that is not coming from inside you.
Mhm.
And that might offend some people. I have lots of loved ones in the church, and I actually don't have any kind of like animosity toward that. It's more just inner authority versus external authority. But
Mhm.
but like being nice got me into a lot of trouble. Being
Yeah,
nice
me too.
caused me a lot of pain.
Yep, me too. Also, when you talk about the people pleasing, it's this program put into us, but it's also a safety mechanism
Mhm.
that we learned as children that if I don't play this game, if I don't do everything in my power to make you okay, I am in danger.
Mhm.
And that, I think, for me, when I saw it through that lens of safety mechanism, I was like, oh, that's different. So then it shifts from, oh, this program I got put in, it shifts for me, well, how can I create safety in a new way
Mhm.
so that I feel safe enough to speak out? And
Mhm.
then it like allowed me to heal something deeper because there's a lot of ways I can create safety, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
Even doing it, if I had a physical safety, start and practicing when you're not in proximity to the person. But
Mhm.
ultimately, it was probably emotional safety that they were trying to protect against. But yeah, that was
Yeah.
something new.
Yeah. And that's such a big thing for women, doing pelvic care for women and realizing that most women don't feel safe in their bodies or in the
Mm,
world, and at
yeah.
varying degrees. And that it's something that we are, I think, working to liberate ourselves from now. And there's a lot of ground that has been covered, and I think there's a lot more, but being safe in our body, in our emotions, and realizing like the power is in us to create that safety.
Mhm.
And that it starts with like trusting and loving yourself and learning how to have a boundary and hold a boundary.
Mhm.
And then like trusting yourself that when you're in a conversation and they speak to you and it hits in a way that your body is like repelled, you can trust that.
Yes.
Even if your mind doesn't understand why, at first, sometimes it's later. You have to like sort through it. But you can trust that because when you have a guru in the spiritual community and, they're trying to guide you in a way that your soul is like, no, and the way they put it feels off, that's like how you can feel safe in your body because you have your own back.
Mhm.
And you override, you like break through the good girl programming and even learn how to be a bitch if you have to be a bitch to
Seriously.
protect yourself.
Yeah. I love how you say learn to be a bitch. I literally bought the book How to Be a Bitch because I didn't know how. My entire family line had, just succumbed. Like I remember my mom telling my sister was a teenager. She's Aries. She's fiery. She would say, you can't act like that. You will never get a man, like tone yourself down and so that you can get a man. Like that is so like ancient. We think it's ancient,
Yeah.
but it is still so pre- prevalent.
Yeah.
She's saying that, but it is communicated in all these ways. You have to be a certain way, especially around men, or to get this thing, or for your job, or to
Mhm.
be this person in society. You can't be yourself. And my sister, like, how do you tame that? You can't
Mhm.
tame that Aries fire. Like,
No. No.
that's like who you are at your core.
Yeah.
That's like your essence. Like now you have to suppress who, like the very essence. No wonder
Mhm.
people are depressed. And she was,
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
literally suppressing all these parts of us and
Mhm.
wondering why we have to be on antidepressants. We don't want to live and life seems bland. But the very thing that enlivens us, that life force energy, we're not allowing to flow.
Right. Right. And because we're kind of depending on your culture, it's like a cookie cutter. Be like this,
Yeah.
It's look this way online, talk this
Mm-hmm.
way, use the newest lingo, dress like this now. 2 years later, oh, that's out. Dress like this now. And it's like you
Mm-hmm.
can never keep up. And so you've got to trust what your inner fire is saying and
Yeah.
go with that because what else do we have? Like at this point with AI and all the tech coming in and it's really I feel like the people who are really embracing who they are and living the most authentic and creative versions of themselves are the ones who are going to make it. I think the
Seriously.
people who are programmed with so many different programs and layers that it's spinning out because that is changeable. And then you're following a herd mentality, which,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't the era of following the herd anymore.
No, because even if we start moving into the tech thing and the AI revolution, it gives us so much benefit. It makes our writing so
Mhm.
good. It speeds up all of our functions, but you better believe, I mean, I use AI. I'm writing a book. I would edit with it minimally, but I know what AI language sounds
Oh,
like. When
totally.
I
It's
read,
gaggy.
I know exactly when I read something if it's written
Mhm.
by AI or not.
And what do you
And
do? When you read that, what is your body's response when you read AI?
I don't have a physical negative response, but you know what I do have? It's cookie cutter. It
Yeah.
sounds the same. It has the same cadence. It uses the same words. And I'm like, it discredits it. It
Exactly.
discredits it.
I discard it. I almost don't even listen or watch it because for me personally, when I'm so good at spotting it now within a minute, I'm like, "Oh, gross." Like
Hmm.
I literally discount it and move on to something authentic and
And
real.
because there is so much coming at us, that is a
Mhm.
filter.
It
And
is a
so
filter. Yeah.
if I'm doing again something that everyone else is doing, I'm going to be in that herd. It's like my daughter when she was 6 years old, and I said she went or her sister was playing soccer. I'm like, "Do you wanna play soccer?" And she's like, "No, why would I do that?" I was like, "But why? You like it." She's like, "I play soccer at school. I just run with the herd." She's like, "I just run with all the kids, back and forth, back and forth. I'm not a valuable player." I was like, "How old are you?" She's like, "Unless I'm making an impact, I don't wanna play the sport," you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's not that athletic, that's not her thing, but she
Yeah.
knew that, she was able to recognize it, and so it's like, how can you come back to yourself? What lights you up? What is your truth? Because that's what sets us apart, and that's what tunes us into our creativity and innovation, and those
Mhm.
are the things that put us ahead.
Mhm.
That's what brings something new to the table. That's something that only humans can do. The machines cannot at this point.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like you've gotta have that excitement, because excitement is also fear. There's, like, a very fine line between the 2, and I think living your authentic path and, like, you've gotta feel a little fear and a little excitement at the same time, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's moving very fast, this world.
It is. And this brings me to, maybe we can close on this, is this idea of safety. You were saying you assist women to feel safe in the wild. You take people on adventures in the desert and even just around here in in
Mm.
nature, which again, this is unplugging us. But
Mhm.
there's, and that's also the work that I do, that nervous system work.
Mhm.
The more that we
Mhm.
can train ourselves
Mhm.
to feel safe not being in the
Mhm.
herd, to feel safe breaking out, because there's
Mhm.
a reason we're not. There's
Mhm.
safety in that herd. No one's gonna see Lorelai running up and down the thing. She's protected by everyone around her. But when
Mhm.
you are the one making the shot, when you're the one, like, actually
Mhm.
out in front, that's scary.
Or doing something different that hasn't been done yet.
Yeah, that hasn't been tested, and you have
Mhm.
to be the only voice speaking out against something. That is scary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and
It
it's about
is.
coming, yeah, for me, it's about coming back into my body and acknowledging, again, my feelings, but the sensations. This is actually what the resonance method is. It's all about that coming back into your body and processing life through our
Mhm.
bodies again.
Mhm.
I say again because anytime we're operating from a place of not safety, we are dissociating. We
Mhm.
are trying to get away from our bodies
Mhm.
to feel more safe. It's also anytime we're trying to get away from emotion or
Mhm.
feeling and not seeing it, it's to create
Mhm.
safety for my ego. Like, no,
Mhm.
I can't be that
Mhm.
thing, you
Mhm.
know? And so, what are some of the
Mhm.
ways that you assist people to find that safety?
Again, coming back to the body. So nature is, the original nervous system regulator. And so, I started in my practice doing body work with them and then moved into holistic pelvic care and working with women because their trauma made them dissociate and they would like distance themselves from the root of who they are, literally in their body, their womb space, and like their root. And so, because that was disconnected, they never felt safe in the world. And after doing womb work, they could walk down the street and feel better, less
Yeah.
anxiety, less depression, less insecurity. They just felt much more secure in their physical body. Where like and nature I found as an accelerant. It's like when you do any kind of healing but you're in nature, it accelerates the process. And
Yeah.
so and there is something about like standing in the natural world and feeling like you're a part of it and you can connect. And then whatever goes on in the news and all of the wacky stuff that's happening in the world, you are deeply rooted in the earth and in your body and you're okay.
Mhm.
And so we're moving into a time where our energy fields are being bombarded with Wi-Fi. They're talking about like wirelessly connecting humans and it's not that far out. And
Right.
so we have seen a massive uptick in, chronic illness and all of these things and I really believe it's because our nervous systems are getting fried. Our energy fields are getting fried and that's going to happen because anything that isn't grounded will fry in
Well
this
said.
electric universe that we live in. And so for me, it's like there's getting out in nature, grounding, like bringing us back to our bodies is only going to help us evolve into the world that we're moving into. So we can
Yeah.
hold the charge of this electric energy that is only getting faster and stronger. It's like drinking from a water hydrant, but it's electricity. It's coming
Mhm.
at us, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to also bring to our remembrance that grounding can be as easy and coming back to your body can be as easy as walking outside and feeling the air,
Mhm.
walking barefoot,
Mhm.
feeling the grass. Even if you're in New York City, there's grass around you can go find. Sitting
Mhm.
for a moment, if it's five
Mhm.
minutes, you don't
Mhm.
even need longer than that, and just feeling through your body, remembering your senses, remembering
Mhm.
like coming down, using the breath, using all the things we already have around
Mhm.
us
Mhm.
to come back to ourselves. And that's a lot of what my work is resetting our nervous systems to be able to handle more. So when that electricity comes towards you,
Mhm.
you are grounded, like you have that ground. And it's all through the senses, it's through the body, and it's through daily practice. And I think I know as we practice more and more coming back to our body, remembering, feeling, allowing, the tangibleness.
Mhm.
Then, when you're getting the bombardment from everything else, firstly, you are more aware of how it's impacting you in the moment to step away, to create, like, wow, I
Mhm.
literally feel sick to my stomach. I
Mhm.
better turn this off. Or,
Mhm.
hey, sorry, I have to leave now. Whatever it is to actually honor ourselves because we're connected and we know,
Mhm.
instead of enduring the whole conversation and then not knowing why you feel bad and just being
Mhm.
in freeze mode or fight or flight. We're in the, that hyper accelerated mode. And then we're not only disconnected from ourselves,
We're easily
but
manipulated.
yes, because we need something to hold on to.
So, yeah, if you aren't grounded in yourself, then whatever the internet's telling you, you're just gonna latch onto,
Yeah.
and or maybe not the internet, maybe it's your guru,
Yeah. Because we
or
want something.
mhm.
We're still looking for something outside of ourselves to anchor
Mhm.
us, to create stability. And this is actually a great topic to talk about next time is how do we find safety within ourselves?
Mhm.
Because I know for me that's been my journey. I'm a
Mhm.
Taurus. I like my home. I like security, safety,
The
and I
physical
have
body.
the physical body, and then I have this
Yeah.
other aspect, and you can tell me next time in the astrology of it, where I travel all the time. I want to be free. I want to be a nomad, and I am. And then I'm like a nomad and thinking, this doesn't feel the way I thought it would.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I've had to really learn how to feel safe in my body no matter where I am, no matter who I'm with, because that's not where real safety comes from. It's like here.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah, beautiful.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to leave with everyone? Any last
No, I mean, I
sentiments?
think we kind of like touched on so many things, but I think
Yeah,
like to bring it back around was really just, like manipulation and how it can look different ways, and even being under the guise of like spirituality, and that like these different things, and like owning what we feel in our body,
yeah,
and like claiming what we feel in our body as our truth, and that it's okay, and like building that trust within ourselves and having our own back, and
yeah.
then learning like how to ground into ourselves and be our safe place, be our own home, uh, that like so that we aren't falling prey to other people when they're in their cringe, or the world for that
Or
matter.
the
We've all
world.
witnessed a lot of cringe in the public sphere as well. So anyway,
Yeah.
so
And
thanks.
yeah, thank you. And I also want to just remind us that it's okay to be where we are. It's
Yeah.
okay to be in your cringe sometimes. If it
Hmm.
is destructive and hurting people, it's not okay. Stop that.
Yeah, well, look at it so then you can stop that.
There we go.
Yeah.
And in this world of spirituality, we often want to be somewhere we're not or find something outside of us, like get
Hmm.
advice from something outside of us,
Hmm.
especially AI. We love doing that.
Hmm.
you know,
Mhm.
where the more we tune into our physical body and the sensations, it gives us a lot of information too. And that
Yeah.
tunes us in to that, firstly, this neural network, but collective consciousness. It tunes us into a different frequency that we can start to access far more of ourselves, far more of
Mhm.
ourselves. So I'm going to leave it there because that's also another conversation.
Awesome. This was fun. Good
It was
stuff.
fun. Okay, thank you. So you can find Megan at Root and Orbit. We have a link at the bottom, and you can find all the information about the resonance method at the bottom. We start a new class every few months. It's a very interactive class that is guided. It's very human.
Very.
Very daily reminders and weekly check-ins to be able to firstly reset yourself, ground your nervous system, but then also teach yourself how to actually, your body informs your mind to relax when that trigger happens. Instead of needing to think about it and say, hey, calm down, your body says, take a breath, which is a powerful place to be. It's coming back, returning to your senses, I like to say. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you.
Love you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us and listening. If you enjoyed this content, we invite you to like and subscribe. If you're interested in energy intelligence technologies to calm yourself, regulate yourself, and start to use these technologies for your own benefit, you can follow the links below and engage.